We are lucky to be joined today by one of our entrepreneurs in residence, Kevin, co-owner of Heatherlea, which is a tourism company specialising in bird watching and wildlife holidays based in Scotland, but also doing holidays around the world. So, to start out, is wildlife something that you're particularly passionate about?
Yes, and that's how it started, to be quite honest, Alex. I was bird watching in Scotland with my wife and a friend, and we finally saw a capercaillie after nearly 2 weeks of looking for it. And I was on cloud nine. We bounced back to the house, and I said, "That's a business." And my wife said, "What is?" And I said, "That feeling. That feeling is a business. We can give that feeling to other people, and they'll pay us for it." So that's where it really started. And getting from there to where we are now has been a 30-year journey. But basically, it was only a brief time before I decided I didn't want to work in industry anymore.
What challenges did you face when you were starting out then?
Well, first of all, everyone thought I was mad because I left Lancaster University with a degree in economics, and I went to work in marketing, and I was a marketing manager by the time I had this idea. And I was where I was supposed to be. I was in a large company, turnover about £1 billion, going to group board meetings, running a department at the age of 32. And that's pretty much where you would be on a corporate career ladder. And suddenly, bolt from the blue, I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, my wife and I didn't have any children, and we were able to do it, and we only had to worry about ourselves. Normally, there are mortgages and other things to worry about. We just about had enough money to get started, and I said, I think we should do it. And because we were fairly newly married, she said, "Well, if you want to do it, I'll do it with you." I think as relationships develop, people change, and maybe 10 years before or 10 years after, it wouldn't have been the right time. But a lot of it has to be the right time. And you meet a lot of entrepreneurs who say, "I started my business because my wife and I, or my husband and I, or my partner and I thought it would work. And we decided to do it." And it's that we-ness about it. You've got someone to lean on and someone to feed off. And that is a very important component. So the challenges were basically, do we think we can do it? Nothing like this was out there all that time ago. And we were planning in about 1989, 1990. And it did just seem like a very strange thing to do. But we just jumped. And if it goes wrong, hey, I think the bottom line was I was feeling, if I never do this, will I regret it on my deathbed? And I had the very strong feeling that, yes, I would regret it because I could play safe, carry on up the managerial ladder, pay for the family, pay the mortgage off, have a comfortable life, but I would always regret not doing this.
Yeah.
So we did it. And that was the big challenge.
Yeah.
The other challenge that all businesses face, where are you going to operate? How are you going to find your market? We knew where we should be because it was the north of Scotland. That's the place where the birds are that British people want to see and will pay to stay to see. Because if you want to see birds in the Lancaster area, you just drive to the coast and go home again. There's no point trying to get people to stay there for a week. But the birds we have up here are largely only seen up here. Therefore, you have to come here. And the habitats are very different. So you go from mountaintop to sea, and you can't do that in 5 minutes. You have to wait for the right day to go to the top of the Cairngorm Mountains to look for the special birds. So a week is a reasonable time, and you need to have somewhere to stay and something to eat, and you need someone to show you around. So all of those elements of the product came together. So if you say the primary function of the holiday is to show people birds, that's correct. But the secondary function is they have to stay somewhere, they have to have something to eat, they have to get around. And we owned those things too. If you only own the primary thing, you're called a guide and you earn £100 a day. If you own the secondary things, you can build a product. And I was a marketing man and I could see where the value lay. So it seemed natural to me that we had to buy accommodation and we had to run the whole thing. Most companies like this don't do it that way. They go to a place and they do the bird watching and then they go back to a hotel at night. We do that too, all around the world. But in Scotland, we've sunk anchor because it's good here all the time. You can be bird watching here 12 months of the year, and that means it's possible to own a guest house at first and then subsequently a hotel.
Yeah. So from those challenges and those experiences starting out and making those decisions, what would you say are the biggest lessons that you learned?
You've got to be completely committed, and all entrepreneurs will tell you that. And also, you've got to enjoy it, and all entrepreneurs will tell you that, because you're not going to do much else. You really are not. So if you're in business to make a lot of money quickly, then fine, that's great. But I would strongly advise people to also be enjoying what they do. This is a low margin operation, really, because we can't issue any patents on bird watching. I can't say, don't look at that golden eagle, you're not paying me. And the chap comes and stands next to me and says, what are you looking at? I'm going to tell him it's a golden eagle. So it's not like the Dragon's Den where you say, have you taken a patent out on that? Because you can't. So it's likely to be a low margin thing, which is why the hotel helps, because the hotel is high margin.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to do it for the love of it and realize that you're going to be doing it for a long time to make any money at all. And those are lessons I've learned as I've gone along. But again, I kind of cut out the middleman. A lot of entrepreneurs are working to get money, and if you want to have a big yacht or go a fancy house or Ferrari, then absolutely fine. But I was just cutting out the middleman and making it possible for me to go bird watching, which is what I wanted to do at the start. So I went straight to the end game, really, and I didn't need to make an awful lot of money to do that. So I've kind of come to terms with myself over that 30 years or so.
Yeah. So what advice would you pass on to someone starting out now?
Again, make sure that you're doing something that you really want to do. Do your costings, and above all, make sure that you can make money. So cash flow, which a lot of people in the management school will be learning about, is absolutely crucial. And look at the big fixed costs. So stuff like rent, machinery, that's really important. You have to be able to cover the costs of those. The next thing is learn to delegate, and the costs of labor are really, really high and important. You need to know who you need to have around you in your business. And then you have to look at the revenue streams. Come at that two ways: cost driven, what do you think that you need to charge to cover those costs? And also market driven, what are your competitors doing, and what do you think you can add to your product to make it better than theirs, and therefore what is it worth? And then you put all of that together, and on a single piece of paper you should be able to write down your business and make your sensible decisions. But don't be led by your heart, you must be led by your head.
Right. So in terms of location, this all obviously started in Scotland, but you've expanded to other locations now. How did you choose exactly where you were going to run the business and where you were going to expand to? Was that a difficult decision?
Not really, because it's very much done by organic growth. Where we started is in a village called Boat of Garton, which is called the Osprey Village, because it's next to the RSPB Osprey hide. So it was, as they say, a no-brainer to base the business there, because there was a centre for it. People were coming to that centre. Now, I didn't want those people. I wanted people who would come and stay with me. The ones who go to the centre are already staying somewhere else. But the location was just so right. And the RSPB were doing all my marketing for me by saying this is a great place to visit in Scotland. So people were flocking in, and like a guy setting up a burger van, there I was.
Mm-hmm.
So the location was right. We happen to be in the centre of northern Scotland, and we can get east, west, north really easily, and we can go to all the islands fairly easily from where we are. So it happens to be a perfect location. From there, we moved from the guest house to a hotel because we were just too small. We couldn't handle the demand. And we upgraded the business when we went to a hotel. We now had a 3-star hotel. It had a bar. It had ensuite rooms, all the things that people want. The business just trebled. It was instant. And then people started saying to me, thanks very much, we've had a great time. Next year, we won't be back. We've done Scotland. One guy shook hands with me. He said exactly that. And he said, next year I'm going to Mallorca to go bird watching. And I instantly blurted out without thinking a bit about it, so am I. Because I had to follow my customer. And people tell you that in the theoretical learning of marketing and business. But the practice is exactly the same. If that's where the guy's going and he's my customer, either I say goodbye or I offer him a better product in Mallorca. So we do that now, and we're in the middle of a big strategic planning exercise where we're relaunching the company, and we're looking at destinations literally all around the world, because that's how much we've grown. That Mallorca conversation, I think, was in 2002. We became a limited company in 2001, and by 2021, which would be our 31st year, we see ourselves as being a global company. But we're still doing that from a hotel with 10 operating bedrooms. That's a funnel for these people. They come here first, the holidays are relatively cheaper, and then they go around the world. So we do short breaks on the shoulder months, out of season, and we sell them cheap. So we're just watching the current COVID regulations, because we've already sold a lot of these breaks in January, February 21, and they cost $495. The normal price is $795, and most years they fill. But the people who come on those cheap breaks really enjoy it. They get to know us, they like us, and then they might go to Costa Rica with us. Well, Costa Rica costs more than £5,000 per person. So that's how you get an introduction to your business. And the fact that we're small with only 10 rooms doesn't stop us building a business which is 100 times bigger than that every year around the world. And that's what I mean about starting in a place where you control everything, and then opening that out into places where you can pick up services like hotels when you need them, and then put them down again when you don't have the business. But you have to make sure that where you invest, the first place that you choose, has the market which will keep you sustained and give you an enduring business. Then you have to make sure that your product has good qualities so that that enduring business is popular, otherwise it won't endure. People will come back time and again at different seasons to see different wildlife, and they'll tell their friends, and they'll travel around the world. So it really is just sitting there. It's just right for an entrepreneur to burrow into it, get your head down and work hard.
Yeah. So you said yourself that you're a marketing man. In terms of marketing your business, did that happen mostly organically through this growth and word of mouth, or what have you found the most useful for marketing?
Well, if you look at the market we're in, when we are in travel and tourism, as you say, it's a very small niche market. People who want to take wildlife holidays and see birds predominantly. That's even smaller than the market for people who will go to sit on a safari, for instance, to see a lion in the Masai Mara. We do that, but we also stop the jeeps to look at the small birds. And the drivers in Kenya have said to me more than once, I've never seen that bird. I've been coming here for 20 years doing this job, and I've never seen that bird. And I've been driving past it every day, because people want to see giraffes and elephants and big stuff. So our niche is really small. And because of that, the word gets around really quickly. So if you're offering a service, all you really need to do is advertise in the niche areas. So specialist birdwatching magazines. And this time, of course, is all about social media. So we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and that really is about it. You conquer people one by one, and they go on holiday with friends and relatives. They belong to clubs who you can talk to, and you do it very much what I would call below the line in marketing terms. Above the line means national press, TV, that sort of thing. There's huge amounts of wastage there, but you're paying to reach everybody. So it's not economic if you have a small niche market. You have to go below the line to get value for your money, and that means being patient and growing organically.
So, you mentioned COVID, obviously. How has that been impacting your business at the minute, and how have you had to navigate this crisis?
Well, COVID has closed us completely. We closed on the 21st of March, and we opened briefly August to October, and then we closed again for the current lockdown. We navigated it by obviously refunding our customers if that's what they wanted, and a lot of them being older people, we tend to have an older demographic, simply wanted their money back, and no arguments. We did that. But a lot of them also were saying, well, I want to go on this holiday, just hold my money till next year. So we start 2021 with a lot of bookings, and that's good. We're out there marketing, but the market is much, much smaller at the moment, and it will stay smaller until confidence returns. And as we speak in November 2020, there are vaccines in the air, there are opening up of the lockout measures coming, and all of these things do help us, of course, but it'll be a long time before the market comes back. Again, the fact that we bought the hotel is a major, major thing, because we're operating at the wrong time. Everybody is, but we are at least in the right place. As soon as people are ready to come back, it costs us very little to draw the curtains and open the door. Whereas if you're using somebody else's hotel, are they going to be on the pace? Have they got enough business apart from yours to keep them going? Will they have even heated the place? Will they have any food in? Will they have any staff in? We don't have any of those problems. Obviously, the disease itself has been dreadful. We've all had personal tragedies through it, and we're no different. But we've managed to keep the team together. The furlough scheme has been absolutely invaluable. We would have closed the doors without that, paid everybody off, and called it a day. There's no doubt about that. But with that scheme, we will survive, we will keep the team together, and we haven't lost a single employee through financial reasons. So that's good. And we are looking forward to it. We're now looking at that yearly planner extending over 5 years. So to go. And you simply put your name down for the holiday. You don't pay any money. As the holiday gets full, you have the option of paying a deposit, and in due course, we will then ask you to pay the balance. At the point where people are even showing an interest, we talk to the agents and we say, this one looks like it's going to run. Put all the services in place, start talking to the hotels and the destination country and get it ready. This one's going to run. And then if it doesn't, we just cancel them. There aren't any costs in doing that because we're not paying anything in advance. Our agents are in the same position that we are. We're all trying to just tread water until we can go back to it. But there is a big bank of customers who want to do things. So, for instance, we cancelled a holiday in Ecuador, in the mainland of Ecuador, in the cloud forests, and then from there we go to the Galapagos Islands. Fantastic holiday, really expensive. Most of the customers just said, I want to do that. It's the holiday of a lifetime. Let me know when you can run it. So we're now saying we'll do that in September 21. If we can't go, we'll simply phone the clients and say it's going to be September 22. And the vast majority will say, unless things have changed, just hold my money till September 22 and I'll send you the rest. So we are able, if we keep our heads, to work our way through this. And it will be a smaller market. But as I said at the start, we only went into this because we enjoy doing it. So that's okay. And we've managed to avoid debt. Debt is the other big thing. So if you have a landlord, if you have a mortgage, if you have a bank involved, then it's a lot harder to do this. So my first tip to entrepreneurs after do something you enjoy is do something that you can make money out of. And first thing you do is pay down the debt, get clear of the bank. And you'll do far better because then you can just hold your breath and bad things will pass.
Yeah. So, you've been running this business for 30 years, you said. Obviously the world is a very different place now over the past 30 years. What are the big sort of changes and ways you've had to grow and adapt over that period of time?
People are far more demanding. They expect more for their money and they want a higher standard of services. And there's a bit of a contradiction in wildlife because by definition, wildlife moves away from people. So if you want somewhere really nice with a top quality hotel room and all the services and lots of choice at dinner, then that's going to be more than a few yards away from the wildlife. And putting those things together takes a little bit of thinking and a little bit of time. We do it and we do it very successfully, but people are far more demanding. I could take you to a place, for instance, like Peru, and we could go into the Amazon jungle, and there are places which don't have websites. Unthinkable, isn't it? A place wouldn't have a website, but that's because they don't have electricity. And when you get there, they don't have hot water. But it's just the right place for seeing that particular bird, which is only found there. So we get around that by telling people in advance, this is a bit Spartan. When you get here, this is what it's going to be like. And one thing I learned is that people don't like nasty surprises. They'll put up with anything if they chose it before they travelled and they know it's going to be a little bit rough. But if it's rough and they weren't expecting it, then that's dangerous. And people are very well informed. They want endless detail. And quite often people will email us and say, tell us more. And we look at the website and we say, well, there's already 10,000 words there. What do you want to know? Just more. Just tell us more. Well, you can read a report from the last trip. Yeah, I've read that, but I want more. And it's almost like, well, okay, I'll ring you up and we'll have a chat. and we'll talk for as long as you like, and you can ask anything you want. But I can't just start a travelogue in the hope that I hit the buttons, because I'm not going to. I'll miss it. Oh, are those steps steep at Machu Picchu? Yes, they are. Oh, because I can't walk very well. Okay, well, now we're getting somewhere. But I can't tell you that without knowing who you are. So it's a little bit difficult. But it's fun. And we don't sell holidays. We simply help people to choose the right holiday. We may hang on to them until they've chosen the right holiday, and that may be called sales, but that's not how we characterize it. So we make sure that what we offer people is just the right holiday for them, because then guess what? They won't go looking for that same holiday elsewhere. It takes too long, and they will buy it if we're ticking all the boxes. And we're also informing ourselves what we need to build into the holiday that would make it even better. So we send our reports after the holiday by email. Some people like them by text. Can I have it in hard copy? Well, can you not just print it off? You've got it already. No, I'd rather you sent it to me. So you put the phone down and you think, oh, blimey, I've got to do everything. But then you think, hang on a minute, this person paid me thousands of pounds for this holiday. All I have to do is run it off, stick a plastic cover on it and a spine, and send it to them, and they'll be really happy. Why do I not want to make my customer happy? So you smile and you do it. The other thing we do, which is very different, is that we now, for overseas trips, offer a pre-flight service. And this is really important, because let's say you're going somewhere exotic. Let's say you're going to Nepal. You're going to go and see Mount Everest. You're going to go to a Buddhist stupa. But more than anything, you're going to go and see wildlife. You've got to catch a plane. To do that, you've probably got to stay in a hotel the night before. To do that, you've got to park your car. You've also got to go to the terminal the following day, and you've got to sit in a crowded area with people kicking your legs, and you've got to buy a newspaper and something to eat, and you need a bird book with all the coloured pictures of the things you're going to see. We do all that. We give people all of that inside the holiday, and most of our competitors don't. And the reason that works is we're just making it simple for people, and they want us to make it simple. So we're building a bridge beyond the holiday to the customer. And that is really, really important. And that's what marketing is. It's just the building of a bridge. So you can apply that to any business and say, how do I build a bridge to the customer as cheaply as possible? Well, will I pay £40 to get them a book for a holiday which is costing them £4,000? You bet. Will I give them a VIP lounge where they can have something nice to eat and relax in comfort before they catch the plane, and it costs me 25 quid? You bet. I'll do all of those things, because the added value in marketing terms is enormous, but above all, you're taking the hassle out of it for them. And that is what people want more than ever. Make it easy for me. I'm a keyboard warrior. I've been stuck at home now for 9 months. I'm looking at all of these places. I want to go, but I also want it to be easy. I want to see how easy you can make it for me.
Yeah.
And that's really important. That's going to come out of this in the new normal. So one thing we're doing here is reconfiguring the office responsibilities so that we have a new customer services department, just so that we can talk to people about all of those things, because we know that if we make it easy for them, they will be more likely to buy it, and that makes us a more successful company, and it gives us happy customers.
Well, that is all of my questions. Is there anything else that you would say to the people listening, to young entrepreneurs or people who want to start businesses, that you think they should really know at this point in time?
I think we've covered most of the key points. Make sure you're doing something you enjoy. Make sure you're going to work as hard as it takes, because you really, really will. Make sure, if possible, that you're in with people who are absolutely dedicated with you, because you're going to need that. And get your head down, get started, do as much planning as you can in advance, and don't weaken. If you can anticipate all your costs, then you're a better man than me. I've never seen a business plan that survived its first contact with the future. And that's an old saying, and it's true. But if you do that planning, you won't get so many nasty surprises. And nasty surprises cost you time, money, and heartache. So try and avoid them by doing some planning. But above all, enjoy yourself and don't give up. Get a good idea. The idea doesn't have to be as wild as my idea, because that is fairly strange. You might just want to set up a cafe. There's nothing wrong with that. What makes it special is you and the way that you do it. And there are cafes and hairdressers and restaurants all over the place. There's nothing new about people eating and having their hair cut. But the USP of the business is going to be how you do it. And that's more than enough for you to find a niche and be successful. So walk up to the table, put your elbows on it, open them wide and say, deal me a card, here I come.